2 hours in total time, whether it's provided in a phone or face-to-face or some combination. And I should say the phone and face-to-face counseling, I know people sort of feel like these are two different camps. I think that's the wrong way to think about things. They're complements. They work very, very well together. And sort of figuring out the right dosage of each that makes sense. And then, borrowers who have more extensive issues need more time. But the point is, the more time they get, the better off they are. The more time they have, the more likely they're going to have a positive view of their counseling session. The more less likely they're actually to go to foreclosure. So if they have a foreclosure start, they get some more counseling, they're less likely to complete a foreclosure. It has a positive outcome on their ability to whether the foreclosure start. And then they're much more likely to follow up with their counselor, with their lender. And it's an important outcome that they actually cooperate. That's just the outcome services in the room. All they really want is to contact the borrower and have cooperation in the counseling specifically. And this, by the way, this is controlling for all kinds of things, income, race, credit background, where they are in the process. So sort of controlling the kind of measures that there's many things as possible. It's clear that there is an impact on the additional amount of counseling. This is work. This is another quote from the focus groups about this is about the Chicago NHS. They're a lot more compassionate. They don't make you feel like you're being put down, even though they can hang up the phone and laugh. This is what people are afraid of, is being embarrassed or being laughed at. And the counselors are third-party, objective. They're not the lender. They can say, I hear you. People have been in your situation before. We can get through this. Another important thing to remember is that there's a lot of money on the table, a lot of cash on the table in our foreclosure. The studies show that lenders might lose 20 to 60 cents on the dollar. One study suggests almost $60,000 in losses to lenders from a foreclosure. A lot of it is the legal costs, the servicing costs, the cost of securing a property, remarketing it, legal costs. But beyond the lenders, there's also a neighborhood effect. In Chicago, there's an estimate that each foreclosure reduces the property value of all the other houses around it. I showed you that chart of Morgan Street. And how do you think about it? Would you want to buy a home on that street? So it impacts negatively the neighborhood. It also negatively impacts the local government. There's a cost of vacant homes. In Chicago, the mayor is very concerned about the idea of vacant homes, which become a place for crime. And that has a huge cost to local cities. So everybody has a stake in this game. The borrower, the lender, the local government. And it's a key sort of partnership. We've all got a lot to lose, but we've got a lot of cash on the table. And luckily, there's some things we can do to make it better. So I think, to conclude, I just want to talk about the challenges I think we face today. 15 years ago, there was a lot of discussion, 20 years ago, about how can we make mortgages more broadly available to low-income, minority, underserved borrowers. And there's a lot of work with the mortgage market to figure out how to fix the front end. And the front end by meaning, how do we do outreach to get communities to understand that there's mortgages available to them? How can they qualify for a mortgage? How can we help people get through the process so they can become first-time home buyers? The industry, Neighborworks America, nonprofits in the country did a tremendous job to change the way the system works. The front end works very well now to get people into homeownership. I think the back end didn't really know what the front end was doing. Right? So now we've got a system that has a lot more borrowers who are higher risk, longer risk in the system, and we've got the same old sort of servicing, foreclosure, default intervention service system we had before. Now it's changing rapidly. Everybody's figuring this out. But I think we've got to do it quickly. We've got a lot of payment shock potential in the next couple of years. We've probably got flattening property values. Although it's interesting, it may not be true that, as we saw in like Texas, Boston, places like that in the early 90s, people would actually sell, get it from their house. And our interviews and focus groups with low-income families, they're not letting go of that house. They're going to get dragged out. This is one shot on ownership and they don't want to lose it. And then finally, you've got exotic mortgages, are going to fall down and sort of pushing the limits of risk. And then finally, I think if you're a fan of homeownership and you're promoting homeownership, you need to really think about these neighborhood effects. Even if you think, well, people sort of made their risk, took their risk, it has powerful neighborhood effects. We've got consumers who are trying to manage a lot of risk now, oftentimes without a lot of capacity. And consumers need a lot of help. And I think these problems are going to get worse. We need to be ready, but we've got some great tools. And I think the rest of today is learning about how those tools can be applied. And I'm sure the people in this room and the people that we work with are going to make a huge difference on this. So I really appreciate you being here. And let's take care of this.
Many speakers here go away without some question. Somebody, he's talked everything about people who are saying, the 21st person finally listened to me. We learned all the information about less than 1/2 of 1% of all these mortgages are going into default, but yet a third of the mortgages are option arms and 20% are investor and speculators. Somebody here has to have at least one question for Michael, excuse me, dear, just to make sure he's as sharp as he appears to me.
You say your name.
What's up?
You say your name.
Veronica Raphael.
Yes, Veronica.
And most nonprofit organizations don't have marketing money. So don't you think it's the responsibility of the funders to assist us with financing marketing tools to get the word out that one, pre-foreclosure is, the way to go, and to contact the nonprofit organizations in the area?
I think you're even now ahead. Most people don't know. They don't know where to go for help. They're asking their friends for help. Their friends don't always know where to send them for help. I think the Chicago model you hear about later about using the local 301 hotline to get people to a national council center to get them to local council. That's a powerful model. Neighborworks America is about to launch that nationally with a 1-800 number. Anything you do to get the word out there to people that there is help available, don't stick your head in the sand. Get people in the focus group tell us about how they put all their bills under their couch for 3 months. They literally sit their head in their couch, right? They just didn't want to deal with these problems.
So are you saying that you think Neighborworks America ought to fund this?
Neighborworks America.
I work with lenders and the government regulators that they answer to. One of the things that should be known, and I know there are a lot of lenders in this group, especially from the loss mitigation department. One of the things that could be a solution if it's vetted properly, discussed thoroughly, each lender or servicer, and remember the loans may have been sold a couple of times, so people no longer know who they're working with as it relates to making their payment. Each of the lenders or servicers is required to give to the borrower some sort of notice of default. With that notice of default could be specific information about who to contact for assistance. And we're not talking about much more in the way of cost except additional ink. But it needs to be followed up from the local nonprofit organizations and consumer counseling agencies, because so many of those official notices of default go unopened into the kitchen drawer or under the couch. So there's a disconnect here that could be bridged, but it takes some focused effort.
Michael, comment on that.
Yeah, already can be very powerful in this, whether it's a local government or a nonprofit, trusted nonprofit agency. They can all open the door. I think networks of faith-based institutions and other ways to get the word out can be very powerful too. We've got to really struggle with this issue because we're trying to really don't want to be found. So it is a very tough issue.
I represent a network of counseling agencies across the country. The question that they posed to me, and I want to propose to you and to the audience here, is that we do an excellent job in foreclosure prevention. We definitely work more than the hours that's listed down here with our clients. If the amount of money that you say is on the table that the lenders and investors are losing if a foreclosure occurs, how come the willingness not to support the counseling agency financially when they save a foreclosure?
Yeah, so I think this is a very important issue. I would say there are more and more lenders, many of them are in this room, who are stepping up and are willing to make fee-for-service payments based on performance, based on sort of accountable outcomes. If you can provide a value to them that will result in lower delinquency, lower default, lower the cost of servicing, lower the cost of foreclosure, and it's a business proposition, pure and simple. And I think what some nonprofits get stuck in is they're sort of in the, give us a grant and we'll provide you some good outcomes, we promise. And I think the challenge for a lot of this industry is trying to figure out, like we're doing in Chicago, what's the actual impact, what's the actual value? Let's show that we can actually add that cash on the table and not sort of have